Hello and welcome everyone. This is your astrology forecast for full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, and this one is happening on the 3rd of March, third day of the third month. So it's also very symbolic in many ways, and this is another eclipse that we have in a series of eclipses that began in September of 2024 that started happening in Pisces and Virgo. So this is that axis of Virgo and Pisces, and it's very, very complex and also very simple at the same time. And of course, as always, everyone who is into astrology and into different kinds of perspectives need to be confronted with paradoxes in life, because paradoxes are everywhere and they exist. And sorry, I'm just checking my mic to see if it's working, and I hope that you can hear me well, because it's important to deliver this message in the right way. So eclipses are very powerful events, as I spoke in the previous video when I talked about the new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius. So I don't want to repeat myself, but eclipses are life-changing events. They bring turning points in our life. They have the power to turn our lives upside down, but actually it's putting us back on the track. Eclipses are there to bring us back to the right path, to realign us with our soul's journey. So if we took some wrong moves, if we made some mistakes, then this eclipse will do everything that is necessary for us to be, put back on the tracks. And eclipses, their impact is 6 months long. So in 6 months we will have another eclipse, and this eclipse will be happening in Pisces. And this whole series of eclipses, Pisces, Virgo, is ending in 2027. And it began in September of 2024. And of course, it's connected to those 18 years cycles. So 18 years ago, we had this same series of eclipses activated. So we are faced with some, lessons that we skipped perhaps at that time, or we are now experiencing something that we need to finish or to reveal that is related to that period of time. And because this is Virgo Pisces, this is 6th and 12th house rulers, it's very intense when it comes to our inner work and our visible work. What is visible and what is invisible, because Virgo is what's visible and Pisces is what's invisible. And this is not just the moon being eclipsed. When we speak about lunar eclipses, we say the moon is being shadowed by the earth. But not everything that disappears is lost, and some things are being removed so that new things can grow and flourish, so that the ground is kept fertile. And the eclipse doesn't destroy the moon, right? It only reminds us that darkness also has its role, and it's very important. And I often say that darkness has something to teach the light. They are both teachers. The light and the darkness are both great teachers, and this eclipse is here to help us remove useful from non-useful, to learn to discern, what's right and what's not right. We are separating wheat from the chaff. This is what Virgo does, and this is removing, not removing, but learning the difference between cleanliness and control, worry and anxiety, and this is the mystery of everyday rituals, because Virgo and 6th house is about things that we do every day. And what we do every day creates our personality. It deeply reshapes our role that we have, on our character. So it's very important to choose our habits and routines wisely, and to deal with our health and our bodies, because this is what Virgo is about. It's an earth sign, and it's about harvesting, it's about self-care, it's about service to others, it's about efficiency, it's about being useful, And we have to understand, that we understand these things in many different ways. And Virgo archetype in us has that need to be seen as good and to be perceived as someone who is good, someone who is perfect. And I'll talk about it later in this video, but let's come back to eclipse and what eclipse is all about. In esoteric astrology, in occult traditions, in Jyotish, it's not moon that is eclipsed. It is the moon that is being swallowed by Rahu or Ketu. And in this case, this eclipse in Virgo is South Node eclipse. It's happening next to the South Node, and South Node is Ketu. So this is the headless serpent. It doesn't have a head. So it only has the body. And there may be a very strong focus on the body, because Virgo is the body, 6th house, but we have so much going on in Pisces. So this is very strong, perhaps a very strong push and pull between what's spiritual and what's material. We are making distinction, but in reality, it is all one. And we have to reach that point, not because someone told us, not because we read it somewhere, but because we are having direct experience of it. And this eclipse is here to deliver to us this kind of experience. And, Ketu is the body without the appetite. It's the past without the future. And this is what we are dealing with now. This is something we have to let go of, something we have to release, because South Node is our past. And full moons bring endings and completions. And the eclipse is also about endings and beginnings, of course, but there is a strong focus on something that we have to cut off from our life, something that needs to go. And this can be a routine, a habit, a toxic pattern in our life, something we've been repeating over and over again, a lesson we are repeating that we are not learning, or a lesson that we learned but we are not applying it, something that is truly affecting our health and our well-being and our relationship with nature. And in Vedic astrology, Rahu and Ketu are not planets. They are shadow forces, and they are the points where the path of the sun and the moon intersect. And, they are karmic axes. So this is very karmic energy, huge karmic releases related to our ancestral patterns, to something we've inherited, and we believe it's ours. So this eclipse is not about a light disappearing. This is, magician's trick. And Ketu and Rahu are magicians. They are magicians. And this is magic. It's not that light disappears. It only seems that way. It is about karma ripening. And it is about something that has been living inside our nervous system for lifetimes, that is reaching its expiration date. So Virgo is here as our initiate of the matter. And, let us go deeper into, this deeper under the surface of the archetype of organization and health. Virgo is not just the one who cleans. Virgo is the priestess, and it's detail-oriented. And the glyph of Virgo looks like an M that is closed inward, curling into itself. And that letter M is not accidental. It's also the middle of the alphabet. Almost in every alphabet, M is in the middle. And M is matter. It's mother. It's maiden. It's matrix. It's mystery. It's the maze. And it's the taste of the food, because 6th house in Virgo is also about the food and our digestive system. So let's pay attention to what we eat and how we digest, and also what we eat mentally and emotionally, and how we digest mentally and emotionally. And this M connects Virgo to Scorpio, which also carries the same root shape. Both signs are about initiation, and Virgo is the purification before death. Purification before death. Scorpio is the death. Virgo prepares the temple, our body. We have to prepare it for the next step for the initiation. And Scorpio enters the underworld. And this is where we get to the Eleusinian mysteries. You know, in the ancient Demeter mysteries of the mythology of Demeter and Persephone, that is all related to these three mystical signs in the zodiac that we have that are very connected. And these are Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. And we have Libra between two M's, you know, and the scales between the M matter of Virgo and matter of Scorpio, and I'll talk more about that too. So Virgo carries this archetype, you know, that of Demeter, of the mysteries of Eleusis, that where initiates would descend into darkness to experience symbolic death before rebirth. So she is the maiden holding wheat. This is the grain that must be cut down before it becomes bread. And this is an initiation through humility, through surrender to process, through understanding that the sacred lives inside the smallest action. This is what's really important now, to know that less is more. And the smallest action, you know, micro activities are what truly matters. And Virgo solves the jigsaw, one piece at a time. And this is happening in 12th degree of Virgo, you know, the degree of correction. And, you know, this is where Virgo carries the frequency of refinement. And in esoteric numerology, the 12 comes down, the 12 is very, very mystical and symbolic number. I'm not going into that now. And it comes down to number 3, the Trinity, the creation through synthesis. And this degree speaks of, you know, correcting what was built on illusion, because we are definitely now meeting the illusion, because we have the Pisces, and Pisces, ruled by Neptune, is about illusion. And we are reorganizing our lives, and we are faced with spiritual confusion and embodied wisdom. So we are letting go of self-criticism that has blurred our perception of discipline, of what discipline is. And this is Ketu eclipse, as I said, South Node eclipse. So there is release, there is completion, there is detachment. You know, Ketu does not negotiate. South Node is there to cut. And, you know, unlike Rahu, who is obsessed, you know, Ketu dissolves, just like Pisces and 12th house. You know, it removes the head. So we may feel headless, or we may make some headless decisions, but let's not worry, because eclipse is here to realign us and reorganize us in the way that is meant for us. You know, whatever happens during eclipses, it's meant to happen. It's inevitable, unavoidable, and we just cannot escape it. And, you know, there is no ego. Ketu is egoless, and there is no craving for future. This is just karmic closure, and it's not a good time to start anything new, especially because during this time we have the ruler of this eclipse, Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde where? In Pisces, in the sign that is opposite from Virgo. So this is no coincidence. You know, this is, you know, the ocean is rising. I'm sorry, I'm just checking my microphone very often, because sometimes it happens that it turns off. So just in case, I don't want to lose this flow and connection. So let's just see what's going on. The sun is in Pisces, North Node is in Pisces, Mercury retrograde in Pisces, Venus is in Pisces, Mars is in Pisces. This is not subtle. You know, this is a tidal wave. You know, Virgo wants precision and Pisces wants transcendence. Virgo says fix it. Pisces says forgive it and let it go. Virgo says analyze, and Pisces says dissolve. So we have to really handle these energies within us. And during this eclipse, as I said, Mercury is retrograde, so the mind is underwater, and logic cannot lead. Intuition must lead. This is, you know, a reset of our spiritual nervous system. And, you know, we are meeting the mystery behind the serpent of time, because really the serpent of time, because we are moving through those serpentines of our life. As I spoke about before, the maze, you know, we are in the labyrinth and we are moving through time. And we are meeting this serpent within us. So in Jyotish, Rahu is the head of the serpent. You know, this is desire, future hunger, worldly obsessions. But Ketu is the body. It's about our memories, past karma, past lives, detachment, and, you know, total dissolution. So this eclipse is about Ketu swallowing the moon. And the moon represents what? Our emotional memories. It represents the mother, habitual reactions, our safety patterns and survival mechanisms, things that we also repeat, just like Virgo in 6th house, things that we repeat. So this Ketu is swallowing these things within us, and something ancient is being released, really. And this could be a coping mechanism, or, you know, a wound of perfection, a pattern of self-criticism that has been inherited through, you know, lineage. And Virgo often carries ancestral anxiety. So there is this belief that, you know, if I do everything perfectly, I will be safe. And there's the shadow side of this Virgo eclipse. Of course, every sign, every aspect, every planet has its shadow side. So the shadow side of this could be, you know, because we may meet the unevolved Virgo within us who fears chaos, because Pisces is chaos. So Virgo is afraid of chaos, and that's why, you know, it likes to keep things in order, or to keep mind occupied, or to be involved in too many tasks, just not to get more intimate with the self, with the unknown, with the inner ocean. But Pisces is flooding the temple, literally. And this eclipse says the temple must dissolve, not to be destroyed, but to be rebuilt without fear. And we may experience big emotional detox, and we may feel it in our body. Our body may behave in a crazy way. You know, we may have headaches, we may feel like throwing up, we may have something that is catching us in a healthy, not in a healthy way, I mean, with our health. So we need the cleansing, healing, and, you know, this also brings endings of certain routines, endings of jobs, you know, change of health regimes, diet regimes, exercise regimes. These are revelations about where we overload ourselves, where we overwork ourselves, where we overfunction. So there is realization that control is not devotion. And Virgo, 6th house, is a lot about hard work. And, you know, we believe that if we work hard, we're going to get good results, and we are going to be useful, and we're going to be praised, and if we are good, if we are of service to everybody. But these are very tricky things, because what we usually experience is, you know, when we do things for others, or when we take other people's responsibilities and do them instead of them letting them do their own thing, we don't do them a favor, and we don't do ourselves a favor either, because we didn't do it really in an honest way. And there is lack of knowledge, lack of deeper knowledge about what each person needs to do. Each person has its function. And there is one short story that is a bit interesting and could be related to this eclipse. And this is a story about a woman who spent her whole life polishing a mirror. And every day she cleaned it, she removed every piece of dust, she adjusted the angle so that it reflects perfectly. And one day a storm came, and the wind broke the window, rain entered the room, and the mirror fell and was broken into pieces. It was shattered. And the woman was sad. She felt miserable, you know, like years of devotion are gone. But when she looked down at those broken pieces, she saw something she had never seen before. You know, each piece of that broken mirror reflected a different part of the sky. And, you know, the mirror, when it was whole, showed only one view. but broken, it revealed infinity. And, Virgo polishes the mirror, but Pisces breaks it. And the eclipse shows us that the shattering is sacred. So something may break in our life, something that we've been devoted to our whole life. And it may seem as a catastrophe at first. It may seem like a big loss. And we may be, weeping for it. But then an insight comes. Then we see that this is a very good thing, that this leads us to infinity, that this gives us a bigger perspective of things. So in the same way, we are now seeing those pieces, something that we thought is whole is being broken into pieces. Maybe we may have to fall apart in some way. We ourselves, our persona may fall apart. But what we find in those broken pieces will give us big, big answers. And, this eclipse is happening right next to the fortune. Fortune point is activated. And this eclipse, this means that this ending or this release is something that brings us fortune in some way. There is this lucky moment, but it doesn't mean that this is just some luck that came out of nowhere. Of course it's not. It's fated moment. It's destined. So, when we release karmic perfectionism, when we stop managing everyone's emotions, or when we let go of fixing what was never ours to fix, this is when we align with this path. And of course, we are never meant to live life in order. Like, then it would be so sterile. We need chaos. We need to move. We are alive beings. We are not robots. We are not mechanisms. We are not computers. We are not AI. This word has been used so much, artificial intelligence, and the shortcut name of artificial intelligence is AI, and it's been spoken about so much in every language. People are like a ritual, like a mantra, but nobody ever talks about emotional intelligence. Let's try to give some power to that, because we are giving away so much power and money and time to this artificial intelligence and AI. So let's give our time and energy to emotional intelligence. And I saw a beautiful post a couple of days ago. And, sometimes we can find very good things. And I read it, and it said, I asked ChatGPT, and then at the end of the image it said, but did you ask your inner child? Then the next slide shows, I asked ChatGPT, but did you ask the forest? But did you ask the birds? But did you ask the sky? Did you ask the ocean inside of you? These kinds of things are very, very important. And, this eclipse reminds us that the zodiac is not just personality. It is a wheel of incarnation. Virgo is the stage where spirit learns to inhabit matter with precision. And Pisces is where spirit dissolves back into source. So this polarity is the inhalation and exhalation of the universe. So this eclipse is an exhale. We are exhaling something. So, this may feel like, we may feel like, we are more tired than usual, more emotional than usual, detached from old goals, and invited to simplify things. And this is purification. Virgo does not yell or scream or makes drama. Virgo edits. We are editing our life line by line. And there is a much bigger teaching. What remains is our essence. And this is our presence that is not influenced by learned behavior or performance or a need to impress anyone or anything. This is, devotion that is free from anxiety. This is service that is free from martyrdom. Martyrdom. We are not martyrs. This is not about being a martyr. And Virgo archetype and Pisces, they both feed us with that need for being a martyr. Why? Because, there is a lot of mysticism in that. And again, I cannot go into that story now fully because it would be too much to expand and to distract us from this eclipse. But the age of Pisces and the archetype of Pisces is strongly related to religion and to the figure and archetype of Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ was martyr. He sacrificed for humanity. And he is like the ultimate good. And this created so much confusion in our way of being and thinking and moving and acting and reacting. It has huge impact on us. It doesn't really matter from which religion we come from. There is this huge influence of it unconsciously, subconsciously on all of us. You know, the whole of humanity. Each person carries this strongly. So we are now learning what it really means to be of service, but not being a martyr. We are coming out of that program. That was a program that was leading us. That was a program that we all lived. Now we can reprogram it. And it's happening anyway. This program is being rewritten, whether we like it or not. So we are now dealing with killing that martyr within us, with letting it go. And it can be painful because we are addicted to being a martyr in one way or another. And this eclipse is not here to punish. It's not here to end something, to remove something from our life. No, it's here to liberate through subtraction. Eclipses are always there to eclipse something out of our life and to bring us an inner eclipse, which leads to revelation. And, you know, we are solving the maze. We are collecting the jigsaw pieces of that shattered mirror. And sometimes the missing piece was the one we insisted on keeping. Just like this woman from the story that insisted on having her perfect mirror. It reflects her perfectly. So now that image, that perfect image is being shattered. And we are going to see that the missing piece was probably the one we insisted on keeping. And we couldn't see it. So Ketu meets the unconscious, you know. This is where we meet the wound of perfection within us. And, you know, Virgo is the 6th sign of the zodiac, and 6 is not random. You know, everything is there very precisely. And 6 is also related to harmony and responsibility, and it's the hexagon of sacred geometry. 6 is the number of service. And in the natural zodiac, Virgo rules the 6th house of work, daily rituals, health, routines, discipline, devotion, self-improvement, a relationship between body and soul, things we do every day, our lifestyle, you know, all those things that are necessary for our body to function normally. And Virgo is earth, you know, and it's not wild like Taurus earth, it's not transformative like Capricorn earth, it's cultivated earth. It's the field that is tended daily. This is why Virgo is connected to medicine, healing, herbal knowledge, sacred order. You know, she is the one who knows which root heals fever, which leaf calms the womb, which ritual purifies the body. You know, before hospitals, before institutional medicine, there were these herbal medicines. There were shamans and shamankas who were mostly women, or people who had strong activation of intuition, which belongs to the feminine principle. And the Vestals, the priestesses of ancient times who kept the sacred flame, are very strongly related to Virgo archetype. And, you know, in ancient Rome, the Vestal virgins guarded the sacred flame of Vesta. But virgin did not mean sexually untouched. It meant whole unto herself. She belonged to the sacred. And Virgo energy is not about purity in the moral sense. It is about integrity. And the Vestals kept the flame alive because if the flame went out, Rome would fall. But Rome here is definitely symbolic. And all roads lead to Rome, also symbolic. It's not a city in Italy. It is a place of renaissance within us. And this is Virgo's archetype. She keeps the system functioning. She maintains life quietly. And, you know, before patriarchy institutionalized knowledge and healing and medicine, all of this belonged to women, actually. You know, midwives, herbalists, wise women, witches, the good witches. They were not fantasy figures. They were Virgo archetypes. You know, women who understood cycles, who tracked the moon, who knew how to prepare the body for birth and for death. You know, shamankas in Siberia, medicine women in the Americas, tantric yoginis in India. You know, where are they now? Many were silenced, many were persecuted, many were erased from history completely. You know, we know nothing about them, and this also affects us greatly because there is no memory of these great existences. You know, Virgo is the memory of that wisdom, and during a South Node eclipse in Virgo, ancestral memory rises, and this can awaken through our body. And some of us may feel anxiety that does not belong to us, that is inherited. And Carl Jung taught that whatever we repress becomes shadow. But this shadow is the carrier of light. So we just need to change the perspective. And perfectionism is often shadow in disguise. It looks like a virtue, but psychologically it is often a defense. And anxiety does not come from chaos. It comes from the fear of losing love. And, you know, a child learns very early in life that, you know, if it performs well, you know, if I perform well, I will be accepted. If I am useful, I will not be abandoned. And, you know, Virgo perfectionism is often, you know, that inner child trying to secure attachment through competence. And, you know, trauma is not what happens to us, but what happens inside us as a result. And many people talk about it now. You know, we are now becoming more self-educated, which is a very good thing. And many high-functioning, capable, responsible adults carry Virgo wounds. You know, hyper-independence, self-criticism, overworking, somatic anxiety, digestive issues. You know, the body keeps the score, and the sixth house is health. So Virgo rules digestion, both physical and emotional. And if we are not allowed to express anger or grief as a child, the body stores it. And, you know, perfection becomes a survival strategy. So, and this reminds me of Joseph Campbell and his hero's journey. You know, Virgo is not glamorous hero. Virgo is the stage of apprenticeship. And before enlightenment, there is humility. And this Joseph Campbell said, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." You know, let's remember this. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And for Virgo, this cave is imperfection. The treasure is self-acceptance. And this eclipse invites the hero to stop polishing the armor and to remove it. And, you know, this is easier said than done. But here we are, no excuses. And we are faced with anxiety and the illusion of control. Anxiety often arises when the nervous system believes it must prevent some catastrophe. And Virgo energy, when distorted, believes that, you know, if we calculate enough, if we anticipate enough, if we prepare enough, you know, nothing bad will happen. But Pisces is flooding this. And Pisces teaches surrender. Under this eclipse, many may feel, you know, fatigue, emotional sensitivity, sudden realization of burnout, desire to withdraw. And this is the nervous system asking for mercy. Trust me, it's really asking for mercy. And what occurs to me now is why most gurus are men. You know, this is not a coincidence. Gurus that we know of. Historically, institutional religion was shaped by patriarchal systems. But mysticism always had women. And this is not about minimizing men. I'm not talking about gender related, but yes, we see it because, for example, in arts, where women were erased, they had to use different names. Writers, many writers, how much we know women writers in history, they are all men. Also spiritual teachers, all these great painters as well, very few women. So it's not about really gender related, but yes, on this surface level, in this material realm, it was given to us in this way, to suppress the feminine principle, to suppress the intuition, and to live ourselves, to betray ourselves. And these women, some of them were Hildegard of Bingen, Teresa of Avila, Ananda Maima, Mataji. Mataji is the sister of Babaji. You can do your research and maybe explore some of these amazing existences. But women's spirituality was often framed as hysteria. So Virgo energy is not loud, she does not seek dominance. She works in quiet precision. And during this eclipse, something about the feminine healer archetype awakens, not necessarily in women only, but in the feminine principle within all. And this is the one who listens to the body, the one who tends the wound. And medicine began with women. So we are now coming back to this wisdom. The sixth house governs healing. Virgo governs analysis, but Virgo also governs care. So in ancient societies, healers were not separate from the community. As I said, they were midwives, plant keepers, ritual guides, and modern medicine separated science from the soul. I'm not saying that modern science is not good, but what should be done is to connect, to include everything, to include the soul wisdom, to include intuition, to include metaphysical teachings. Paracelsus, also explore Paracelsus. Who was he? What was he doing? There, one man, he is a man, but he carried that perfect archetype of the wise witch within himself. And Virgo without Pisces becomes sterile, and Pisces without Virgo becomes chaotic. And this eclipse is here to merge them and to teach us how to merge them within ourselves. This is Earth sign, it's about embodiment. It's the sixth sign, and it's about sacred service. And its sixth house, it's daily devotion. So Virgo represents the stage where spirit learns humility. These are not grand visions, but the sacredness of washing dishes, of tending soil. And this is about us removing outdated identity. And in Virgo, this identity may be that, where we are saying, I am valuable because I'm useful. I am loved because I'm competent. I must be perfect to belong. Under this eclipse, the unconscious may reveal where we overgive, where we overcorrect, where anxiety masks grief, and where our body carries inherited fear. And Jung would call this individuation, meeting the shadow of our competence and choosing authenticity instead. And anxiety often originates in early attachment rupture. This is, emotional suppression, conditional love, family systems where chaos required a responsible child. And Virgo children often become little adults. They sense what needs fixing. They become hyper-aware. And hyper-awareness becomes hyper-vigilance, searching for threats, searching for mistakes, feeling better when we find mistakes in others, knowing that they are not perfect and feeling like we are superior. And this eclipse may bring memories, dreams, body sensations. This is a very big clearing. And this full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo is not about becoming better. It is about becoming wiser. And those witches were not powerful because they controlled nature. They were powerful because they listened to it. They were in connection with it. They were in relationship with it. The Vestal did not guard the flame by fear. She guarded it by devotion. And Virgo at its highest is not perfection, really. It's, purification, it's reverence. And there is also a lot of self-forgiveness here because Pisces is strongly activated and Mercury is retrograde. And this eclipse is not here to take something from us. It is removing what we carried to survive so we can finally live. And, we are entering the raw temple of Virgo, the real Virgo, the one who scrubs the floor at 3 a.m. because anxiety won't let her sleep. The one who feels worthy only when useful, the one who confuses hygiene with holiness. And this eclipse is here to expose it. So Virgo rules hygiene, cleanliness, order, organization. But what is hygiene psychologically? Hygiene is the attempt to remove contamination, and contamination symbolically is shame. Many of us learned very early, if I'm clean, good, productive, I will be accepted. And hygiene becomes moralized. Clean is good, messy is bad. But life is messy. Birth is messy. Grief is messy. Creativity is messy. Virgo energy, when distorted, fears mess because mess feels like loss of control. But Pisces opposing Virgo in this eclipse reminds us that ocean is very chaotic and it's also very holy at the same time. And we are discerning the difference between service and slavery. This is crucial. Virgo is the sign of service, but what is the difference between service and slavery? Service comes from devotion and slavery comes from fear. So service says, I choose to give. And slavery says, I must give to survive. Service has boundaries, slavery erases them. And Virgo in its highest form is conscious service, offering skill, intelligence, and healing with dignity. And Virgo in its lowest form becomes martyrdom, overworking, overgiving, being resentful and exhausted. And this eclipse is asking, where are we serving from love and where are we serving from fear of not being enough? We are meeting the maiden within us, regardless of the gender. And, Virgo is the maiden, while Scorpio is the mistress. Both share the mysterious M glyph, but culturally we split them. The good girl must be pure, and the woman who is sexually mature must be dangerous. This is the difference between two M's. And Virgo and Scorpio within us. And this split distorted the psyche of humanity. The body became shameful, suspicious, desire became shameful, cleanliness became moral, sex became sin. Virgo was reduced to virginity and Scorpio was reduced to taboo. But in ancient symbolism, Virgo was not sexually repressed. She was sovereign. And Scorpio was not sinful, but, alchemical, transformative. And the split between maiden and mistress created internal conflict. If I am pure, I cannot be passionate. If I am sensual, I cannot be good. And this eclipse may dissolve that split. We can be clean and wild, disciplined and sensual, sacred and embodied at the same time. And, Virgo rules work as well. But modern capitalism distorted this archetype. And we are taught if we are not productive, we are lazy. If we are not busy, we are irrelevant. And Virgo energy easily absorbs this narrative. It multitasks. It fills every hour. Like it over-optimizes. And, if we are free, if we have some free time, Virgo part in us always is searching for something. What to do? How to fill this hour? How to fill this gap, this empty space? But here's the truth. Multitasking is often anxiety. And the nervous system keeps busy to avoid feeling. Stillness feels unsafe. And under this Pisces Virgo eclipse, exhaustion may come to light. And this is our body telling us that, our body is telling to me, I am not a machine. This is true productivity is cyclical. Nature rests. Even the heart, makes a break between beats. And, this is what we are learning now too. So Virgo rules health, but health is not just absence of illness. Health is, regulation of the nervous system. It's also emotional expression. It's rest. It's digestion of food and experiences. its integrity between body and soul, and we can eat perfectly and still be anxious. We can exercise daily and still be disconnected. True health is alignment, and Virgo at its highest teaches body wisdom. You know, the witch knew herbs not because she read about them. She listened to the earth, to the soil, to the land. Health is listening, not controlling. And, you know, this is where we come to criticism and judgment. Virgo sees details, and this is a gift. But detail awareness can turn into criticism. Where does criticism come from? Often from internalized shame. You know, if we were criticized as a child, we internalize the critic, and the mind becomes hyper attentive to flaws. Criticism is an attempt to prevent rejection. And we should be really easy on ourselves and others. You know, if I find mistake first, no one can hurt me. You know, constructive discernment is Virgo's gift. And harsh judgment is Virgo's wound. So is criticism helpful? Discernment is helpful. Shame is not. And Virgo must learn the difference. Virgo, pardon us. You know, this is the perfect worker archetype. And where does the need to be perfect come from? Early attachment dynamics, conditional love, as I spoke about. You know, societies that reward productivity over authenticity. And many Virgo dominant people were the responsible child. You know, they read the room. They fixed what was broken. They become indispensable. But being like this often means being unrecognized. And there is this realization that comes with this eclipse, you know, that we may see that we have built our identity around being needed. But this is about true purity here. We are reaching the point of true purity. You know, purity is not moral. Morality changes across cultures and centuries. Purity is coherence. And purity is when our inner and outer self match. And we are not performing goodness. You know, Virgo purity is about clean intention. You know, not rigid control, not obsessive standards, clarity. Clarity of action. And, you know, Virgo teaches us that holiness is in details, but not the prison of details. You know, we are asked, are we living fake lives? Sometimes, you know, when we build identity around productivity, when we hide exhaustion behind competition, when we perform goodness instead of being real, you know, and honest adjustment. We have to, you know, remove what is not aligned because we need to breathe, to exhale. And during this time, it may be very, very powerful to just feel the moment of exhale, to take a deep breath and just to exhale through our mouth, to feel the power of exhale. And, you know, just let it go. And, you know, I remember now, what stands in the way becomes the way. This is what this eclipse in Virgo is here to tell us. What stands in the way becomes the way. And this is purgatory time, not destruction, but purification. Are we being distracted or are we focused? Are we addicted to distractions? Are we addicted to being useful? You know, failure is not opposite from success. It is part of it. Just like death. Death is not the end of life. It is part of it. It is one with it. So let's try to feel this oneness of our woundedness, of our need for perfection, of our need to be useful and good, and everything that is hidden beneath it. Let's go deep. Let's allow that Pisces energy to flood us and to clean the temple of Virgo. And with this, I would end this forecast. Love you all and wish us all a very healing, transformative eclipse in Virgo that is going to allow us to break those fake wholeness within us and to find the missing piece that we couldn't see because we were trying to hold it all so perfectly. Love you all.